What's up, everybody? This is Dark Macek with Brutally Delicious, coming into the review of Occult Witch's brand new album, Sorrow's Pyre. Okay, so here's a band I've never heard of before. I decided this week I was going to take a break from my usual power metal shtick, and instead I went for a classic rock throwback group. And I want to use those terms lightly because there's a difference between being obviously derivative and being inspired by. Often in my personal life, I will lampoon bands that try to sound like they're from the 70s. Sorry, dudes, the song Slow Ride sucks, and no matter how much you want to, you will never be able to relive being in the backseat of a completely unsafe car, smoking unfiltered cigarettes, and giving everybody cancer. It wasn't that great a time to begin with. There were gas shortages. Just because you lost virginity then does not mean you need to relive the rest of the decade. Okay, I'm kind of kidding there, but a lot of quote-unquote throwback bands just play 3 chords, and they're like, yeah, we're bringing it back to when music was simple. Fuck you, Black Sabbath was not simple. And God knows Zeppelin was incredibly sophisticated when it came to songwriting. Anyways, all of those complaints are for naught because this band fucking slaps. They know how to take that 70s sound and be inspired by it and capture the ethos without being fucking stupid with it. That is, these songs take you somewhere, and it's not just, oh yeah, music used to sound like this. In a very weird way, I think this band sounds like what 1980s rock music might have sounded like if synthesizers did not take over and if the LA scene never happened. The obvious comparison is Wolfmother in that it took that kind of Sabbath, kind of Zeppelin, kind of Deep Purple sound and kept going with it, but I think this band is considerably more original. Really, it's a couple riffs and just the production style that reminded me of them. I think their songwriting's pretty different. Last thing before we talk about some tracks, it's fun and the production does not overly crowd everything. That is, when it comes to the relationship between the guitars and the vocals, they're not stepping on each other. What's also awesome is that the clean interludes do not actually remind me of any other band, which means that they're doing their own thing. Okay, track Malice. Here's a really fun blending of bands. It's not like Greta Van Fleet, where they're obviously Led Zeppelin or many of the myriad Black Sabbath ripoffs. It's elements of Sabbath and elements of Deep Purple, and of course the own style that I'm talking about. It's really interesting to hear female vocals in this blend. Most like classic rock, throwback, sort of Deep Purple's Sabbath bands have a male vocalist. I'm not sure I can think of a single one that has a female. Faustian Bargain. Okay, best track on the album by far. The song is a journey. It's not just intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. The song evolves and it takes you somewhere emotionally. And that is what I really loved about a lot of those 70s bands that none of the throwbacks get. The song moves and the vocals become increasingly strained and emotional as it goes on. In that way, it actually kind of reminded me of The Doors. Now, this band is not using keyboards like Ray Manzarek, but a lot of Doors tracks feature Jim Morrison becoming more and more of a basket case as it goes on. LA Woman, for example, I think The End hits that. I'm almost reminded also of like Black Sabbath's Megalomania. It's been a long time since I've heard a track like this. Last but not least, The Fool. This song is a bit more basic. Great riff, great vibe, but not going on the same kind of journey as Faustian Bargain. To be abundantly clear, that's not a bad thing. You can't have an album entirely filled with 9-minute tracks that are epic and move you unless you're Winter Sun, I guess. The main influence here, I think, is Black Sabbath. It's not as doomy as what most people think of them, but it reminds me a whole lot of the first album, just not the title track. I'm thinking like Wicked World and the 2 longer ones. It's been a long time since I've heard any tracks that sounded like that, because even Black Sabbath streamlined. Okay, so totally blown away at what this band managed to pull off style-wise. I went in thinking it was just going to be Jimmy Page worship. So anyone out there thinking they can do that, no one sounds like Jimmy Page except for Jimmy Page. If you really want to be like those people, create something new, because that is exactly what they did, and this is exactly what Occult Witches just did. To all you listeners, if nothing else, give Faustian Bargain a listen, because that might be Song of the Year for me. Thanks for this. Rock on.